My little sister and I were born enemies. When it was our turn to reincarnate, we were supposed to be twins, but she wanted the title of Little Princess of the most powerful billionaire family in New York, all to herself. So, she kicked me straight into the womb of a washed-up C-list actress and crawled into the billionaire wife's belly instead. Too bad she had no idea that family was completely crazy. The billionaire father was obsessed with his wife to the point of insanity. The mother was a soft, sheltered sweetheart with a saint complex. And the adopted older brother was cold, possessive, and dangerously unhinged. In our last life, my sister got tortured by that psycho brother until she was barely human. Her legs were ruined. Meanwhile, my actress mother clawed her way up to become an A-list queen of the screen, and she dragged me with her, starting me out as a child star and molding me into one of the hottest young actresses in Hollywood. Then my sister, eaten alive by jealousy, strapped explosives to herself and blew us both up on an award stage. When I opened my eyes again, she shoved me aside and dived headfirst into the C-list actress's womb before I could move. This time, I'm the one getting the glamorous life, she said. I laughed because she had no clue. The illness and that billionaire family, I could cure every last one of them before I was even born. That psycho adopted brother. I could have him wrapped around my little finger in no time. As for the actress, she chose this time. Now that was the real monster. Big sis, this time you can go get tortured by that insane family in the underworld. My sister shoved me so hard, I nearly lost my grip on the edge of the mirror world. Without even looking back, she dove toward the reflection of a heavily pregnant C-list actress. I clung to the edge and refused to fall. The young, ridiculously handsome king of hell looked genuinely confused. Is your sister always this impatient? In our last life, when we heard we'd been selected as part of his reincarnation study and were allowed to choose our next lives, my sister got so excited she practically vibrated. Before he could finish explaining, she kicked me into the actress's womb. I am not spending another life as sisters with that bitch. She doesn't deserve it. The king of hell had looked pretty helpless after that. So, he changed the rules on the spot and let us each choose a family. Terrified he might change his mind, my sister didn't even wait for him to finish before she scrambled into the billionaire wife's womb. So, in our last life, neither of us ever learned what he hadn't finished saying. But I knew it had to matter. Seeing me still hanging there and refusing to be reborn, he smiled with interest. You really are smarter than your sister. Fine, I'll tell you the extra conditions of the experiment. Once he finished, I finally understood. After changing the study last time, he'd added 2 secret conditions. He gave each of us the power of directed inner speech, meaning certain people could hear our thoughts and top-tier beauty. He wanted to see what would happen if a mentally unstable billionaire family could hear our minds, and whether unmatched beauty could change the fate of an actress and her daughter. But in our last life, neither of us knew those abilities existed. Which meant my sister must have discovered the family was crazy and then used her inner voice to trash-talk them nonstop, accidentally letting them hear every word. That explained everything. No wonder the entire family despised her from the time she was in the womb. No wonder the adopted brother ended up breaking her. And me? I'd used my god-tier looks to become a rising star under my actress mother's relentless training. But behind all the glitter was a bottomless hell. I stared at the actress's swollen belly in the mirror and smiled coldly. Congrats, little sister. You took my place in hell. This time I'd use my mind-reading gift properly. I'd start hustling from the womb. I'd make that billionaire family treasure me. Thank you, your majesty. I gave the king of hell one last grateful look, let go, and dropped into the billionaire wife's womb. What do you mean? The cord is around her neck. If we do a C-section, my wife could be at risk. The delivery room erupted with a roar of my father, the billionaire. Do something. Save my wife first. If anything happens to her, I swear this whole hospital's going down with her. Inside the womb, I sighed. So, this is my billionaire alpha dad. He really loves my mom. Damn, he's loyal as hell. Mom seriously hit the jackpot marrying a man like this. The second my thoughts landed, both my raging father and my screaming mother froze. They stared at each other in shock. I smiled so they really could hear me. This gift was amazing. And even better, it was targeted. Who heard what was entirely up to me? In my last life, my sister had no clue she had this skill. At the beginning, her thoughts were broadcast automatically to the whole family. So when she heard the billionaire say, "Save the mother, not the baby," she'd exploded in the womb. What kind of brain-dead rich person says that? Pretending to be some devoted husband? Fake as hell. Save the wife, not the kid, that he's already got mistresses outside with a whole litter of bastard babies. Naturally, that nearly started a full-blown war between husband and wife right there in the hospital. My father had practically fallen to his knees swearing loyalty before he calmed my mother down. When my sister was born, he didn't even look at her. He just held his wife and cried, "Baby, you scared me to death." And my sister, stupid to the end, had kept sneering in her head. "I'm supposed to be your baby, asshole. You can't even fake it, right?" And wow, this old fat hag actually believes him. Look at her. She really thinks she deserves to be Mrs. Billionaire. That did it. Dad's face had gone cold and he'd ordered the nurses to take her away. Mom started seeing her as some kind of demon daughter who'd come to compete with her. A debt collector, a curse. They hated her before she was even born. But me? I was going to make them adore me for real. A lovesick husband and a sweet, gullible mom. Easy work. I sent out another wave of thought. Oh no. Why are my big kitty daddy and mama crying because of me? I can't let them cry. I have to try harder. Then I rolled around in the warm amniotic fluid, turned toward the ultrasound, reached out my tiny hand, and grabbed the cord. 1 loop, 2 loops. I worked it off my neck. There, bad cord gone. Don't cry. Daddy and mommy, baby fixed it. My parents stared at the screen in stunned disbelief. Doctor, look. Is the cord off? The medical staff rushed over, voices trembling. Mr. Carter, Mrs. Carter, this is a miracle. Your daughter must be connected to you in the deepest way. She moved the cord herself. She's an angel baby. Congratulations. My parents burst into tears and held each other. Dad waved his hand grandly. Bonus. Everyone 100 grand each. Every doctor and nurse in the room looked ready to kneel. 1 second, he'd threatened to bury the whole hospital. The next, he was showering them in money. All because of me. Then from the delivery room next door, I heard a familiar shrill scream. What do you mean labor complications? Get the best doula in this hospital right now, or I'll drag this place online and ruin you. The actress, right? In both lives, my sister and I had been born in neighboring rooms. So, I sent a thought through the wall, aimed straight at her. Hey, little sis, you reincarnated before me, so why are you still not out yet? Oh, I get it. Seniority matters. I have to be born first. Doctor, it hurts. This little monster is kicking the shit out of me. Get her out. Perfect. She'd lost control exactly like I knew she would, thrashing around in the actress's womb in pure rage. The actress screamed and cursed the evil brat inside her. Meanwhile, I adjusted my position, got comfortable, and thought happily, Daddy, Mommy, your baby is coming. Then I kicked, twisted, and slid right out onto the delivery bed with a loud cry. The whole room was stunned. My sweet, clueless mother blinked in confusion. That was it? She's born. The nurses laughed in amazement. I've never seen a birth this easy. Congratulations, Mr. and Mrs. Carter, on your little angel. Mom scooped me up, laughing and crying at the same time. Ethan, look. The second I held her, she stopped crying. She's smiling at me. Dad choked up as he wrapped both of us in his arms. She's such a good girl. She couldn't bear to make you suffer. He named me Claire Carter, a pearl, a treasure, a gift from heaven. Then, right there in the hospital, he founded a charitable trust in my name and transferred 5% of the family company shares to me. Sweetheart, this is Daddy's reward for you. I cheered internally. In the next room, my sister was busy tormenting the actress half to death. In the end, the actress couldn't take it and had to have a C-section. The whole hospital whispered that I was an angel baby and my sister was a curse. The actress didn't even look at her before having her carried away. Me, on the other hand, was placed right beside my mother's bed, where my father could keep staring at me like I'd personally descended from heaven. I was just about to drift off when a pale, handsome face appeared above me. Amber eyes, cold, distant, quiet, and instantly familiar. The psycho-adopted brother, the one who nearly destroyed my sister in our last life. His name was Julian Carter. In our last life, he'd started out as the family's elegant, distant adopted son. The kind of boy who looked like he'd stepped out of a luxury ad campaign and never learned how to smile right. By the time he grew up, all that cold restraint had twisted into something darker. He was brilliant, ruthless, and terrifyingly possessive. My sister, with her pig brain and endless need to provoke everyone in sight, had gone after him again and again, humiliating him in public, isolating him at school, sneering that he was only a charity case living under the Carter roof. Later, when Dad handed the company to Julian because he was actually competent, my sister panicked and tried to get rid of him for good. She was the one who struck first. He was just the one who finished it. I looked up at him and thought, oh wow, he's even prettier in this life. My big brother is ridiculously handsome. Those eyes are insane. Why does someone this young already look so lonely? He froze just like that. A tiny crack appeared in his blank expression, so brief no one but me would have noticed. His gaze flicked over my face, searching, stunned, almost disbelieving. Mom noticed right away. "Julian, look. Your little sister likes you." Dad laughed, still emotional from the birth. "Come on, buddy. Hold her." Before he could protest, I stretched out my chubby little hands toward him and gave him the sweetest smile I could manage. "Brother, hug." The room went dead silent. Mom slapped a hand over her mouth. Dad's eyes nearly popped out of his skull. Did she just say brother? Julian's entire body went rigid as they placed me in his arms. He held me like I was made of glass, awkward and stiff and terrified of doing it wrong. But the second I leaned against his chest, I heard his heartbeat kick hard. "He's scared," I thought softly, directing the words straight to him. "He thinks if he gets attached to anything, it'll be taken away. He thinks he has to stay perfect, quiet, and useful or nobody will keep him." His breath stopped. I felt it. This boy had spent his whole life living politely inside other people's space. He was grateful, excellent, distant, and lonely enough to drown in it. No one had ever said it out loud. No one had ever looked straight at the wound inside him and touched it gently. So I did. "Brother, don't be scared. I'm here now. You won't be alone anymore." His arms tightened around me so slightly no one else noticed. Then after a long moment, he bent down, removed the small J pendant from around his neck, and hung it carefully over mine. It was warm from his skin. Mom gasped. Dad stared. I knew what it was. In his last life, that pendant had been the only thing he had left from his late biological mother. He guarded it like a dragon guarding its last piece of sunlight. "This is the only thing my mom left me," he said quietly. "Now it'll protect my sister." The tips of his ears turned red the second the words left his mouth. Then he stepped back, grabbed a bottle, and awkwardly offered to help feed me, like he needed something practical to do before the world noticed he had a heart. I nearly melted on the spot. "Yeah, this one's mine now," I decided, but gently. No poking the bear. For the first month of my new life, I hustled harder than any adult executive. To help Mom recover her figure fast, I refused breastfeeding from day one and happily drank formula. At night, I stuck to a strict feeding rhythm. If I got hungry, I rang for the nanny instead of screaming my head off and ruining my mother's sleep. During the day, I smiled at everyone, pooed on command, and started speaking absurdly early. Daddy, Mama, pretty nurse, cute auntie. I had the whole postpartum center wrapped around my finger before I hit 6 weeks old. People came from other floors just to see me. Every nurse said I was a genius baby. Every new mother wanted to touch my hand for luck. Dad strutted around like he personally designed me in a lab. Mom cried at least twice a day because I was too sweet for this world. Across the hall, my sister was also becoming famous. She had inherited the same top-tier beauty setting from the King of Hell. And when she stopped screaming long enough to be looked at properly, people started calling her a porcelain doll. The actress finally began paying attention to her. She held her in front of mirrors, sang to her, admired her like a prized object. Then my sister did something stupidly flashy and clever. She hummed along. That sent the entire center into a frenzy. 2 prodigy babies under one roof. One speaking early, one matching melody before she was even a month old. Everyone lost their minds. Anytime there was an event downstairs, my sister's mother dressed her up and carried her through the crowd like a trophy. My sister always made sure to look over at me with smug little eyes, as if to say, "See, I'm still winning." I almost laughed. A month later, the actress couldn't wait another second. She took my sister and left. I knew exactly where she was going. Same as last life. She was rushing off to find the mysterious sugar daddy who had been funding her apartment, wardrobe, and medical bills. Only he wasn't free to claim either of them. He was married. His wife came from real money. And once the actress showed up with a baby, he paid her off and threatened her into silence. Take the money and disappear, or both of you can disappear for real. In my last life, that rejection had turned the actress into something vicious. She took every ounce of rage, panic, and ambition she had left and poured it into me. She trained me like a machine. For hours of sleep a night. Acting lessons, dance lessons, voice lessons, etiquette, foreign languages, expressions in the mirror until my cheeks twitched. If I got tired, I was lazy. If I cried, I was weak. If I got hurt, I was wasting her investment. Once, after days without proper rest, I twisted my ankle so badly during rehearsal that I nearly lost the ability to dance at all. She took me to the hospital, then live-streamed from the waiting room to harvest sympathy and industry connections. When I turned 18, she said it was time I repaid her for raising me and started pushing me toward powerful men in the business. By the time she became an Oscar-level actress and I became the hottest young star in Hollywood. Every bit of that glitter had been bought with my blood, my body, and my silence. So, when my sister blew us both up on that stage, she never understood the truth. She thought she was dragging me to hell with her. She had no clue I was already exhausted enough to stop caring whether I lived or died. That was why in the beginning her life looked better. On mine, she became the adored little angel daughter of a rising actress. Meanwhile, I lived the soft, cushioned life of a true billionaire princess. The whole family treasured me. Dad spoiled me. Mom worshipped me. Julian loved me in that quiet, obsessive way that started small and grew roots everywhere. I clung to him constantly. If he went to the study, I toddled after him. If he left for school, I cried like I'd been abandoned by civilization. If it thundered at night, I hugged my pillow and ran straight into his room. At first, he tried to be strict. "You can sleep here," he said one rainy night, looking deeply inconvenienced by my existence. "But stay on your side." 5 minutes later, I had one leg thrown over his waist, my face buried in his shoulder, sleeping like the dead. He stared at the ceiling for half the night. I know because I peeked. His hand eventually came down and patted my back in slow, careful rhythms until I drifted off again. Brother is so good to me, I thought sleepily. I need to grow up fast and protect him too. His hand stopped. Then he gave this tiny, helpless laugh in the dark. "You little brat. I'm the one who's supposed to protect you." Time flew. By 15, I was the pride of the entire Carter family. I excelled at everything. Piano, dance, painting, debate, languages, business instincts, but my biggest advantage was still my mind-speech gift. With it, I could quietly steer outcomes, warn people when something fell off, and help Dad avoid bad investments and spot incredible ones. The family fortune multiplied again and again. Our house got louder, happier, warmer. Even Mom's saintly softness became less fragile when she had all of us wrapped around her. One evening, Dad threw an arm around Julian and me and laughed. "With you two around, I can finally retire in peace." I hugged Julian's arm and pouted. "I don't want to work. I just want Brother to support me forever. I want to be a princess for life." Julian looked at me like I'd handed him the moon. "I will," he said quietly. "I'll take care of her for the rest of her life." He worked even harder after that. Meanwhile, I kept seeing headlines about my sister. The actress had renamed her Olivia Hart for the American market and pushed her into entertainment early. With the beauty setting turned all the way up, Olivia became the internet's darling. People said she was unreal, almost too gorgeous to exist. Directors loved her. Camera lenses worshipped her. Her future looked limitless. The next time I saw her in person was at my 18th birthday party. She arrived on the arm of her mother in a gorgeous designer gown, beautiful enough to stop a room. But the second I got close, I saw it. The deadness in her eyes, the tension in her shoulders, that faint crushed look under all the polish, like something had been beating against the inside of her for years. When she saw me standing there in a simple silk dress, because I hadn't bothered going full princess yet, she lit up with malicious satisfaction and headed straight for me. "Claire," she said sweetly. "So, this is how you've been living? Everyone says the Carters favor Julian more and barely pay attention to you. Doesn't look like billionaire princess life is all that glamorous." Before I could answer, a cold voice cut across the room. "Who exactly are you calling barely human or insane this time? Julian?" Olivia's face went visibly pale. Trauma remembered him before her brain dead. In our last life, she'd feared him more than death. She swallowed. I was joking. He ignored her completely, turned to me, and pulled a velvet box from his pocket. Inside was a diamond brooch shaped like a spray of winter stars. "I made it," he said, suddenly awkward. "Happy birthday, Claire." He pinned it to my dress himself, fingers careful and clumsy in a way that made my heart ache. Then, like he wanted to hug me, but wasn't sure if he was allowed to in public anymore, he stepped back. I threw my arms around him anyway. "Thank you, brother. It's beautiful." His ears went red instantly. "I have to greet the guests," he muttered. "Mom and Dad have another surprise for you later." The second he walked away, Olivia's composure cracked. She grabbed my wrist. "Why is he so good to you?" I pulled free. "He's my brother." "Why wouldn't he be then? Why isn't my mother like your mother?" She snapped, and the bitterness in her voice was so raw, almost startled me. Right on cue, her mother's voice sounded behind her, sharp as a whip. "What are you doing standing here? Come with me and say hello to Director Mason and the producers." Olivia flinched like she'd been burned. "I want to talk to Claire for one more minute." Her mother smiled at me because I was Ethan Carter's daughter, then dug her nails into Olivia's waist where no one else could see. 1 minute. Olivia's face twisted with pain. I looked at her and thought, so it's bad already? Still, she lifted her chin. I'm making my own money now. I have fans, a future. You think being born rich means you've won? One day, I'll become bigger than you and grind you into the floor. I stared at her. Even now, even after 2 lives, still obsessed with beating me. Why can't you ever just live your own life? I wanted to ask. Instead, I smiled. How? With talent or with the same dirty shortcuts you took last time? Her face went red. You think you were pure? Last life you climbed up the same way. No, I said softly. That's the difference between us. I fought it until the end. You adapted fast and wore your suffering like a crown. A person's dignity lives inside them. You never had any. Her eyes filled with hatred so violent it was almost funny. Enjoy your birthday, she hissed. Julian's only pretending in public. I can't wait to watch him ruin you and throw you out of the family. Then she stalked off. The joke was she wasn't entirely wrong. Julian was acting. He was always acting. He just wasn't pretending not to care. He was pretending to care less than he actually did. A while later, he pulled me into a dark private room off the ballroom, shut the door, and pinned me with that unreadable stare of his. You're misbehaving, he murmured. Do I need to punish you? The air between us changed so fast my heart nearly stopped. His body heat, his clean, sharp cologne, the faint cedar and resin scent that always clung to him. The look in his eyes that wasn't brotherly enough anymore, no matter how hard either of us pretended, it all hit at once. Brother, I said carefully. What did I do? He stepped closer and turned my face back toward him when I tried to look away. I'll ask you one more time, he said. Do you have something you're hiding from me? For one horrifying second, I thought he'd heard everything, not just my recent plans, everything, the reincarnation, the previous life, the things I had endured. The way I had approached him in this life with a strategy in my head and ended up falling into something much messier, much warmer, much more real than strategy. No, I lied. Nothing. He took my hand and pressed it to his chest. His heartbeat was hard and fast under my palm. Mine nearly short-circuited on the spot. This should be illegal, I thought wildly. Why is his body this unfair? Why did no one warn me that my terrifying adopted brother would grow up into this? I panicked and immediately shut my thoughts off from him. He gave a low, amused sound. What's wrong? You look like you want to run. I exhaled shakily. Good. He hadn't heard that part. The party's almost over, I said. Can we go back out now? He looked at me for a long moment. Something hurt flashed through his eyes so fast it almost didn't exist. Then he stepped back. Fine. The second we returned to the ballroom, the nosebleed I've been barely holding back from sheer nervous overload started pouring. Olivia appeared with a champagne flute in hand and grinned. What's wrong? Did Julian hit you? Before I could answer, Julian emerged from the private room behind us, face dark, not even glancing our way as he walked off to the other side of the hall. Olivia's grin widened. See, I told you. All that sibling affection is fake. You're pathetic, Claire. 18 years old and your parents aren't even here. Your brother hates you. That's your big perfect life. Who told you we weren't here? A deep voice said, Dad. Mom beside him. They'd been traveling abroad again on one of Dad's endless honeymoon tours with her, but they'd made it back in time. The second Mom saw my nose bleed. She rushed over in heels and panic. Baby, what happened? Did your brother not take care of you? Dad's face went stone cold as he looked at Olivia. Did you do something to my daughter? For all her 2 lifetimes worth of arrogance, she still recoiled under his pressure. Her mother heard the commotion and came running. Mr. Carter, I'm so sorry. My daughter's young and clueless. Please don't hold it against her. Dad frowned. Who are you? Her face turned white. Because technically neither of them had been invited. They had gotten in through someone else and were hoping proximity would do the rest. We're friends of Claire's. The actress lied quickly. The girls were just chatting. Olivia forced herself to nod. I came back from the powder room in a new dress just in time to say, that's a lie. I didn't invite them. The room shifted. Every eye turned to me, then to my gown. It was a custom piece hand-finished in diamonds and light. The kind of dress that looked like moonlight turned into fabric. People started whispering immediately. Dad and Mom walked me under the spotlight, one on either side, and Dad took the microphone. Thank you all for coming to celebrate my daughter's 18th birthday. Tonight, I'd like to announce that I am transferring another 10% of my personal shares in Carter Group to Claire as her gift. The room exploded. This pushed me into a level of wealth that made seasoned investors visibly dizzy. Dad looked at me and said loud enough for everyone to hear. I want my daughter to know that no matter what she chooses, the Carter family will always stand behind her. You are free, sweetheart. Live the life you want. I nearly cried. Then I sent one neat little thought straight into Olivia's head. Yes, they've all been acting protective, acting casual, acting like they don't adore me just so I could grow up safely. You guessed right about Julian, too. He is acting. He likes me far more than you think. Olivia's face twisted so hard her mother slapped her and dragged her away before she could explode. A little later, Julian rolled in the birthday cake himself. It was ridiculous and perfect, decorated with a tiny sugar family of 4. He handed me the knife, a pink bow tied around the handle. I made the topper, he said. It means our family will stay happy forever. I looked up at him, eyes burning. Cut it with me. He nodded and covered my hand with his. Music swelled. Confetti fell around us. People started whispering. Those two look incredible together. They're not blood related, right? He already runs the group and she's the family princess. What a pair. I blinked. Julian standing behind me smiled in a way that felt almost satisfied. At the time, I thought I had imagined it. I hadn't. Olivia saw everything and finally snapped. She screamed that one day she would surpass me, that she would crush me, that I was nothing without my family. Her mother slapped her again and dragged her out before security had to step in. Watching them leave, I felt more tired than triumphant. Because I knew what came next, the entertainment industry was filth wrapped in gold. A mother like that would never let a daughter like Olivia rest. A violent temper, no real support system, and bottomless envy. Someone like that was bound to be used and broken. And Olivia was exactly the kind of person who, if she went down, would try to drag me down with her. So, I prepared first. Over the next 4 years, I went overseas for college. Publicly, I studied business and film. Privately, I worked nonstop. I learned screenwriting, directing, production, and financing. Everything I needed to build a clean studio of my own, one that could protect talented people who refused to play the industry's filthy games. During those 4 years, Olivia got huge. She starred in one award contender after another. She released music. She became a dual-threat star with a massive fan base and endless headlines praising her beauty. Her mother finally got the comeback she had always wanted to. From the outside, they had won. From the inside, I could already see the path Olivia had chosen. The same one I had been forced down in my last life. Obey, smile, endure. Rise. Julian, meanwhile, stopped pretending with me. He flew out to see me constantly under the excuse of checking on my little sister. Any guy who showed interest in me mysteriously disappeared after one conversation with him. Once after driving off a perfectly harmless architecture student, he asked with forced casualness, "Do you like anyone?" I almost laughed, but the truth sat under my ribs like a bruise. After everything I had gone through in my last life, I felt damaged in ways I could never explain. Dirty, unworthy, not incapable of love, just terrified of being seen too clearly. So, every time he asked, I smiled and said, "No, I don't like men and I don't want to get married." "Brother, will you support me forever?" There was always a flicker of disappointment in his eyes. Then he would nod. I promised I would. When I finally returned to New York for good, Olivia met me at the airport before my family did. Her fans had packed the arrivals hall, shrieking her name with their phones raised while security struggled to control the crowd. She saw me with my suitcase and smirked. "Look at that," she said. "I have thousands of people willing to do anything for me, and you don't even have anyone picking you up. Did the Carters finally realize you're useless?" Her fans started whispering. "Who is she?" "Oh my God, that's Claire Carter." So Olivia even knows the fake billionaire princess. Wow, our girl really has connections. Then the insults started. Nothing vicious, just petty fan nonsense. Olivia glowed under it. I walked past her without answering. Outside, Julian was leaning against a black Maybach waiting for me. The second he saw my face, his expression sharpened. "That actress's daughter threatened you." He reached for his phone. "I can have her blacklisted by dinner." I tugged his sleeve and shook my head. "Not today. Take me home." "What did Mom make?" His eyes softened instantly. "Everything you like." When I got back, I found out Dad had almost retired from the company. He was still chairman on paper, but Julian had taken over nearly everything while Dad dragged Mom around the world on a second permanent honeymoon. I rested for 2 weeks, then brought up my studio plan. The entire family backed me without hesitation. "Do it," Dad said grandly. "If it flops, we'll cover it." Then I dragged him into the role of honorary chairman, so investors would stop hyperventilating. He immediately regretted opening his mouth, but Mom twisted his ear until he sat down and behaved. We started pulling in scripts, directors, and actors. One of the directors who showed strong interest was Mason Reed, the same man who had helped launch Olivia and her mother. Perfect. I let Julian say yes. The fish had bitten. A month later, Olivia and her mother landed the lead in supporting role in our first major project. They were ecstatic. They even invited everyone to dinner to celebrate. Dad did not want to go, but I got teary-eyed and Mom dragged him there anyway. Julian came too, because I looped my arm through his and refused to let go. At dinner, Olivia sat beside me and smiled into her wine glass. Funny, isn't it? We end up at the same table again. My acting impressed Julian so much he agreed to cast me. At this rate, the gap between us is only going to keep growing. I took a sip. Growing how? Through talent or by sleeping your way up? She went rigid with fury. You don't get to judge me. In your last life, you rose the same way. No, I said I fought until I couldn't anymore. You adapted quickly and learned to enjoy the applause. Don't compare us. Her voice dropped. Let's see how much self-respect you still have after tonight. When I stood to go to the restroom, the room tilted right on cue. She caught me with fake concern and whispered, talking is easy. I want to hear what you sound like when no one can protect you. My limbs went heavy. I let them. She helped me upstairs into a guest room, smirking, then brought in several men. Mason Reed came in first, already excited, already reaching for me. You sure this is safe? He asked. Olivia lifted her phone, ready to film. After tonight, nobody will protect her. Her father has problems of his own. Cold shot through me. They had not just targeted me. They had targeted my parents, too. The men moved closer. Then the door exploded inward. Julian, eyes red, face murderous. He kicked Mason so hard the man folded. Security flooded in behind him and pinned everyone else to the floor. I threw myself into Julian's arms. I'm okay. I didn't really drink it. He cupped my face, breathing hard, then kissed my forehead. Don't ever scare me like that again. Dad, I started. Dad's voice came from the hallway, perfectly cheerful. Dad's fine, sweetheart. It turned out Olivia's mother had drugged Dad, too, and pretended to drink the same thing herself so she could drag him upstairs, create compromising footage, trigger a divorce, and destroy our family from the inside. 1 arrow, 2 kills. Except my mother had burst in with half the security team and beaten the actress so badly with a handbag and a high heel that I almost felt sorry for her. Almost. Later, I learned the worst part. Julian had known about my plan for a long time. For years, actually, he had been quietly watching over me because he was terrified something would happen when I was alone. When he realized I was setting a trap to expose Olivia and her mother, he told Mom and Dad. The 3 of them decided to move together and finish it properly. Dad laughed when he admitted it. Your old man can act too, you know. Mom smacked him. Your part was awful. If I hadn't backed you up, you would have ruined everything. I looked at them. My insane father, my sweet mother, Julian, standing beside me with blood on his knuckles and panic still in his eyes. And suddenly my throat closed. These people had loved me completely. Not because I manipulated them. Not because I was useful, but because I was theirs. Julian saw my tears and immediately panicked. I'm sorry. Are you mad I was watching you? I swear I won't do it again. I looked at him. Tell me the truth. When did you first realize something was wrong? He hesitated. Then quietly, your 18th birthday. I put a listening device inside the brooch I made you before you left for college. I wanted to protect you. Ice flashed through me. Did he know everything? My reincarnation, my past, my shame. He seemed to read the fear on my face. Mom and Dad only know Olivia was planning to hurt you, he said. Nothing else. And Claire, his voice broke. No matter what happened before, you are the purest person I know. I just hate that I wasn't there earlier. That was it. That was the moment something inside me finally gave way. All at once, I understood the look on his face back in that dark room on my 18th birthday. He had not been angry because I had secrets. He had been hurt because he thought maybe all my sweetness toward him had been fake. So I grabbed his shirt, looked up at him through tears, and said the only thing that mattered. I really do like you from the bottom of my heart. I was never faking that. His arms closed around me so tightly I could barely breathe. I know, he whispered. Olivia, her mother, and the men involved were all charged. Drugging, conspiracy, attempted assault, enough to bury them. Julian made sure the story stayed at the top of every feed for a month. The internet tore them apart. A surprising number of people became obsessed with me and Julian. They're not blood related. They're gorgeous together. Sorry, I'm shipping this. Julian tried to pretend he hated those comments. He failed miserably. 3 years later, my script became a record-breaking global hit. My company was thriving. Dad kept trying to retire so he could drag Mom on an endless world tour. One day, he asked if Julian and I wanted to inherit the whole group together. I made the same face I always did. No thanks. I just want brother to support me so I can do what I love. Julian looked at me with that soft, helpless devotion that still undid me. Done. Dad and Mom exchanged a glance. then in perfect sync, they said. So what are you waiting for? Propose already. I froze. Julian didn't. He took out a ring, got down on one knee, and held my hand like it was the most precious thing he had ever been trusted with. When I was younger, he said, voice low and steady, I was always alone. I never knew what it felt like to be needed, to be depended on. Then you came along and gave me something no one else ever had. Your trust, your clinginess, your ridiculous dependence, your whole heart. That was the moment my life really began. My vision blurred. Before I came back to the country, he admitted he had already confessed everything to Mom and Dad. Told them he wanted to marry me. Told them he wanted to take care of me for the rest of our lives. Dad nodded. We trust him more than anyone. Mom wiped her tears. I never wanted my baby girl sent off to some stranger's house where I have to worry every day. If it's Julian, then she's still home. Julian looked straight into my eyes. I don't know the perfect way to propose, but I know I can give you the safety you want. I'm not asking for a promise. I'm offering you everything I have. My past, my future, my whole life. So, let me keep the promise I already made you. Marry me. Let me protect you forever. The ring was elegant, understated, devastating. I stared at him and thought about the first time he held me. The jade pendant, the awkward brooch, the years of quiet watchfulness, the way he had loved me with so much restraint it almost looked like distance. This idiot, I thought through tears. He really thinks his life began with me. What he didn't know is that maybe I had approached him at first with a mission in my head. But somewhere along the way, I had fallen completely for the clumsy sincerity of his love. Somewhere along the way, home had become wherever he was. So I nodded and whispered, yes. His hands shook as he slid the ring onto my finger. Then he stood and pulled me into his arms while my parents cried, laughed, and practically planned the wedding on the spot. We got married on a private island in the South Pacific that Dad had bought in my name years earlier just because he could. Blue ocean, white sand, endless sky. Mom worked with a top designer to create my wedding gown, a dress sewn with diamonds like scattered stars. Dad walked me down the aisle in tears. Julian stood waiting beneath a white floral arch, looking like the answer to a prayer he had been too afraid to say out loud. In front of everyone who mattered, he put the ring on my finger again and vowed that in this life and every life after, he would never let go of me. The entire internet exploded with blessings. Somewhere in prison, when Olivia heard the news, she finally broke for good. Even then, she was still screaming that if she got one more chance, she would beat me next time. She never understood. There was never going to be another next time for her. And on our wedding night, Julian was no longer pretending to be just my brother, no longer pretending to be patient, no longer pretending not to be consumed by me. Later, with his arms around me and his voice low against my ear, he murmured, "You know something? When I realized you were hiding things from me all those years ago, I wasn't angry. I was happy." I turned to look at him. He kissed the corner of my mouth because it meant I didn't have to keep hiding how possessive I was. I decided then that I was going to marry you. A memory flashed through me. All those guests at my 18th birthday party. All those suspiciously timed whispers about how perfect we looked together. I narrowed my eyes. Those comments that night. Were those your doing? He smiled against my skin. Absolutely shameless now. Every single one. I laughed so hard I nearly cried again. So he had been the best actor in the whole family all along. He tightened his arms around me and kissed my ear. This life, he whispered, I got to protect you. I laced my fingers through his and pressed them to my heart. And for the first time across all my lives, I knew with certainty that I was loved.